So we all have been watching Temptation Island. Some of us have been judging, maybe a little critical. And we all know what happened on that last episode, but I want to talk to Alex because I'm so curious about her as a person, humanizing her because it's more than just what y'all see on TV now. Okay. So Alex, how's it been for you since the show wrapped up?
Okay, so the show actually wrapped up about a year ago. A lot of people don't know that. So just to start off with that, the show happened like a year ago. So a lot of things, right? A lot of things happened between that. And when people are on reality TV, nothing really changes like right away. So basically, it's kind of like this fever dream that happened. And then it's like, oh, that didn't really happen. And then you go back to your normal life and you just live your day-to-day life. And then all of a sudden you get it was like a 2-week heads up of like, by the way, we're announcing the cast and everything is getting put out on March 12th. And we were like, all right, sounds good. But yeah, since filming, I mean, for the past year, I've just been doing the same old thing. I've been working on my social media, growing my accounts, living, I don't know, I like my life a lot. But yeah, since the show came out, it's been pretty interesting to say the least.
Yes, to say the least, girl.
I would say, especially from my end, just because of, how the show went down and then also the edit that I got on top of, obviously we all know what happened to the people that were actually in the house. And do I think anybody got a real accurate edit? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I think what people have to remember is like there's a storyline that needs to be built. So, I'm an interesting case, I think.
You are. That's why I'm like, okay, let me hit her up. Let me talk to her.
Yeah.
Now, before you got on the show, had you ever watched any of the past seasons of Temptation Island?
No, I had not watched any of Temptation Island. I've heard of it briefly, but when I got reached out for the opportunity, immediately in my mind, right, I have a preconceived notion of like what to expect. I actually didn't watch the show until I got to Hawaii. And then we have this like little sequester period where we're in a hotel and have to like fill out paperwork and go through forms and do all that type of stuff. So I watched like a couple episodes of the season right before mine. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Now I understand what I'm getting myself into fully. But, I went into it with the title of the show and right, like kind of the basic premise they gave us. It's like, we all knew what we were signing up for.
It's so crazy how when I talk to people from these shows, a lot of you guys have never watched the show yet you sign up.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. A lot of people, right? So I actually applied to Too Hot to Handle 2 years ago. And I didn't hear back for that one, which I think that one probably would have been a better fit. But I played my role on the show. I did what I needed to do. I helped the storyline along. And I definitely added some controversy, which is what this show needed. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I have ADHD. I found that out actually from the psych eval for the show.
Oh, so, okay. One, you just told me you were recruited. You didn't actually apply. And the second part, there are psych evals, which I'm always curious about.
Oh, yeah. There's like a very, very, very extensive psych eval. And my personal takeaways, I was like, these are all things I pretty much know about myself already. But so my 3 were, I'm hyperactive. So he's like, I can't really tell you have ADHD, but like, Number 2 was that I have like a very thick skin, so it's hard to hurt my feelings.
I can see that.
I have a big confidence about me. And then the third one was that I'm brutally honest to the point where I hurt people's feelings. So I was like, that's fair. But I think all of that encompassing is not exactly a bad thing per se. But yeah, to get onto the show, they reached out to me and I got an email and they're like, I think you'd be a good fit for this. Like, you should like do your application. And I was like, okay, once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm like, am I going to say no to Netflix? Like, I feel like that's a stop.
Say no to Netflix.
No. And
maybe even maybe like something else, but
yeah, I have no regret. A lot of people have been asking me, they're like, the biggest question I think is, do you have any regrets? I'm like, no.
Yeah. You
No,
seem like you live your life like pretty out loud and you don't allow the world or, you're not a person who fits into a box.
I'm definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah, I think I have since I was younger, since I was a kid. I always kind of felt like I was different. I don't want to use the word quirky because I feel like that's almost like overused to be like, I'm cute and quirky. Like, I don't feel like it's like, oh my God, I'm different. But like, I do feel like I've always been unapologetically myself. And even, if you were to ask my parents, like, did she filter herself growing up? Absolutely not. And, it caused a lot of like back and forth with my parents and myself because, I do respect my parents and I love my parents and they love me and they understand who I am. But growing up, it was an uphill battle because I always speak my mind.
I can see you can probably get into some interesting situations as you're very direct. You're very loud, and I think outspoken when it comes to how you dress, how you just fit into certain situations. So how was it for you when you first kind of, started filming and you were around all these different, female personalities?
Oh, yes. So what's really interesting, actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when you first get there, you're on what's called like hard ice. So you're not supposed to talk to each other. If there's no cameras rolling, nothing filming, no audio, right? You're not supposed to talk at all. And you kind of just like, you're looking around the room like, I'm in a room of like some beautiful women. Like, I'm just trying to like figure out who's like who, I guess, and personality wise. And you got to think like 12 beautiful girls in one room. It's like, there's got to be some clashing. There's got to be some personalities. But honestly, I feel like overall as a group, like everybody was really, really like nice and got along. And I think a lot of people would expect that to not be true, but it was an interesting scenario. But I guess as time went on, I think at first I would say a lot of people didn't like me the first 3 days ish.
Now, was this before filming started? You guys were just on ice, or when you actually started doing the filming?
No, I think like the first 3 days of like on ice into filming, a lot of people kind of expressed they're like, well, you're a little bit too like forward and arrogant. And I'm like, I don't really think I'm per se arrogant. I don't know that I would use that. I would say confident for sure in myself. I don't know. What would you say?
I always wonder, what is the difference between like cocky and confidence? Like, what's the thin line between there? Because to me, you do come off like, you don't come off as arrogant. You come off more as like, you know who you are. No one's going to like, tell me anything different.
So that's how I see it too. The guys actually told me, they're like, the first couple days of filming, if we had an elimination, like for sure we would have like X'd you out. They told me that like the first couple of days because they're like, you just came off like so sure of yourself that it was almost like too much. And I'm like, but that's just genuinely who I am. And so they realized that over like the first couple of days and we're like, oh, okay, like you're actually like really cool.
Yeah.
You're just like really sure of yourself.
And I think for your type of personality, I wonder if it's that people have to get to know you past what they see.
100%.
I'm cool, I'm down to earth, but at the same time, I'm not going to take no bullshit. But get to know me.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because I've been going live on like Instagram and TikTok and all these different platforms over the past couple of weeks. And I've noticed every single live stream, there's so many people that come in and they're like, I wanted to hate you so bad based on the show, based on the character that was like edited to be a specific way. But like you actually seem really cool and down to earth and like real. And I'm like, I am. That's how I see myself. So like, I don't know. It's really interesting to watch something back that was not like in your hands, right? Because with like my content, my YouTube content, my vlogs, my whatever, like I'm in charge of editing how I see myself, right? Out of like the footage that I do. And I try to really be like super authentic and genuine, but like it is interesting being like, whoa, like that's it's been interesting. Yeah. How about you?
But you have leaned into it. You haven't shied away, or to me, you don't come off like you water yourself down. You're like, okay, I get people are going to feel a certain way, but I know who I am at the same time.
Yeah, I think that confidence came from, so like as I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, like as a child, I was very creative. I was very outspoken. I was very just like, this is my world and nobody can tell me otherwise. And it's going to happen the way that I want it to happen because whatever. And like, that's the way I like moved in the world. And then as I got older and like, I started working in corporate America, actually, what a lot of people don't know about me, like I graduated college pre-med. I was going to be a plastic surgeon.
Oh, wow.
And then I decided against that.
How come?
It was during COVID. So I never had a graduation as a senior from college. I just kind of like got a diploma in the mail and I was just like a lot of like anxiety and like not sure what I want to do now. I don't know that I want to be in the medical field and all of that. So I was like, I just kind of need to do something to pay my bills. So through my network, I ended up actually working in tech.
Okay. So you were the tech baddie.
I was a tech baddie. I was in sales at first. As you can see, I'm just like a little chatterbox.
Yeah,
I do like
you're a closer.
Yeah, I like building relationships with people and like genuinely getting to know them. So I just I did that for a bit, but I felt like my creative side kind of just like dimmed. Like I felt like once I started working in corporate, it was just like the same thing every day, and I didn't feel like I was like myself anymore. So that's kind of my story of how I got into like social media, and I kind of just became like the real full like, embodied version of myself. I was doing social media under like a fake name.
Why?
While I was working in tech at the same time. And so I was building like all these socials, but I was also still working in tech. Like it was like a Hannah Montana type situation.
Not Hannah Montana, girl.
No, for real. And then I had this like mental breakdown at one point where I'm like, who am I? Like, how do I flip from like one person to the next? Like it's 9 to 5 and then at 5 to 9, I'm a different person. Like it didn't make a lot of sense. So basically I quit corporate and I just decided to just be like fully 100% myself and really like do a lot of self-reflection. And I think that's what really helped me now just become who I am now. Like I don't have to filter what I say. I don't have to act a certain way. I can tone it down. I can be very professional. I can hold my own in a room. But I would say, overall, I just having that scenario, like being shown that side of like, I was watering myself down a lot. And now I'm able to be fully myself and get a good grasp of that. That's been so like freeing. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, me coming from corporate America too, I feel like I always had to be in the box or fit into what they need me to be in order to climb the corporate ladder. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that anymore. And the same thing happened for me during the pandemic. I was kind of just overplaying the game of just like trying to climb. And every time you climb, there's like more politics, there's more BS you have to deal with.
Absolutely. And being a female too. And that's definitely, whether people like to say that or not, like you just have to move a certain way to kind of like demand respect. Because in my last job in tech, I was in sales and then I actually became an executive. I was a director of sales. So I led a whole team of sales reps and I was the youngest executive. I was also a female and I was also, a minority. So it was just like all of those things kind of like, it was a lot. It was a lot to try to fit and like make sure I was being respected.
Yeah. So you guys are on ice, and then how was it for you? Did you feel like you linked up or kind of felt like you were geared towards any of the men in the beginning? Like what was your outlook kind of when things first started heating up?
To be honest, like when we gave the bracelets, right, it was like a very last minute thing. And it was like, you have to pick one, right? And this is just purely based on looks. So I gravitated towards Breon. I thought he had a good smile. I thought like he had a little bit of like a confidence to him. But not being able to talk to the guys right up until that point, I'm like, okay, I'll physical, we'll just go that route. They actually didn't show the first day that we met the guys at all. That was like not in the show at all, the whole first day. So I was like, that's weird, because that kind of like sets the scene and probably would have changed a lot about the storyline based on like who was vibing with who, what conversations were had. I'm not going to get necessarily into that.
The detail,
because that's not really my business to share. I'll just speak on behalf of myself. But yeah, a lot of conversations that happened that first day, I felt like were very telling of like who is there for what reasons. I'll just leave it at that.
Spicy. Okay. So when you guys met that first day, was it a group atmosphere? Did you have any one-on-one time with anybody?
It was kind of like the Hunger Games. So like we were all in. What's different from like the last season, I guess, compared to this season, there was no like big mixer with like both the single guys and the single girls and the couples, which I think would have been a little spicy and would have had made a little bit more drama off to that. But we didn't have that scenario. It was just like us in the villa and then them in their own villa, like separated already. And all the girls were kind of like grouped up and trying to talk to the guys like spread out around the house. So I guess everybody was trying to put their best foot forward, right? Get their time, but there was not really like one-on-one time per se. And it was kind of like a speed dating in a group setting.
It was kind of like you said, Hunger Games, like not who can do the most, but who can kind of present themselves the best in that first.
Yeah. Or like get the most time and like get to talk about themselves, right? Like we're asking them questions, but it's like they don't have a chance to even really get to know all of us because there's so many girls. Like the ratio is crazy.
Yeah, it just seemed like in the men's villa, the girls seemed just more like forward and more. The vibe was so different in that villa compared to the other villa.
Absolutely, I think that's very reasonable. I think there's a double standard because if the guys were to be more forward the way that like they would be in real life, I guess, or like would be in a scenario where they're trying to pursue a woman, like there's a double standard. Like if you're pushing too hard and pressing a girl, it's a little different than pressing a guy. And like going into it now, watching right the season before and like having an idea of the show, it's like, yeah, like the guys always do mess up. So I'm like a little bit confused where the girls and the viewers watching like didn't expect that, I guess. It's like that's the theme of the show every single season.
Well, I think people are probably comparing a lot of these shows now to the hype and success of last season's Love Island. So on Love Island, you kind of saw the girls kind of doing their thing. And so you kind of, some people might expect like, okay, that show did it. The girls were really into it. It was a lot of drama. So why not do the same thing here?
Are you saying the girls on our show of like putting themselves out there? Or, I'm sorry, I'm just misunderstanding.
So like the girls on Love Island, not the girls who come in to kind of like distract and create chaos, but the actual women who were separated from their partners.
Okay.
Like, I think people saw that those women, those girls were kind of like, even though they were linked up to one another, they still were having a good time, still being forward with the guys, twerking, doing all these different things. Whereas the women on this show, not your villa, but in the, I guess, the women's girlfriends, the girlfriends, they weren't really doing much until they started going to the bonfires and kind of, I would only say still only two of them really did something, but they were a lot more, to me, conservative and more held back about like doing anything.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And what I think is not really a fair comparison, like our show, the premise of Temptation Island, I think is a lot of things mixed. It's kind of like The Ultimatum mixed with Too Hot to Handle, mixed with Love Island, like Casa More. I feel like that's more of a fair comparison. If you take all three of those, it's going to be a spicy show. Like, I don't know what people expected, but yeah, I mean, the feelings and the conversations that sounded, it sounded to me as though that side was waiting for our side to do things.
I can see that.
So it's like, yeah, of course you go onto a show and you're not wanting to be painted out like me because a lot of people can't handle that. No one wants to be the villain, but somebody has to be the villain. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, they're not going to make the first move because they don't want to look bad.
Yeah.
But like, okay, you're in a house with 12 sexy men, like you're not tempted at all. Be so for real.
Yeah, I think watching it as an audience member just felt like, okay, ladies, like, are you going to do anything? Even like a kiss, even like holding hands. There was a clear cut, you're my friend, you're my bestie. That's all you are. You're my friend. It's like, okay, are we going to get like 7-8 episodes of You're My Friend?
And like, to be completely honest, I totally skimmed. Like every time it wasn't on our villa, like I skimmed because it was just a lot of like conversation. And like that's how ours was ew, like a lot of the time, it was just a lot of talking about feelings, a lot of it's like, that's not the show. So we needed to like pick it up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We needed to like make it fun, make it entertaining. Like, yeah, naturally guys are more easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the reality of it. So our house kind of like did, you know, what we did. So.
Yeah, and so speaking of, okay, so tell me about that evening. Was there a lot of alcohol going on? Like, what was the vibe of kind of going into that evening?
The evening where everybody kind of like hooked up.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there was alcohol involved. I won't speak too much on that. It was a party night. It for sure was. Everybody was just having a good time, and finally, that was like the first night everybody was letting loose. But what I will say is, you know, it was very much edited to look a very different way, and it did happen. I'm not. No,
I get that part.
Because a lot of people are like, she's trying to lie and say like nothing happened, which like I never said nothing happened.
I wouldn't believe you said nothing happened.
Yeah, no, I would say how it was portrayed didn't happen in that way. I mean, like parts of what I said in specific ways were taken out of context about something else.
How do you think it was portrayed to us on TV versus like not going into the details of what actually happened, but how do you think it was actually portrayed to us?
A lot of people are saying that it looks like I like masterminded a plan.
Really?
Yeah.
But we could see from like the beginning that there's a big camera right there, and we see someone, you know, a male standing there in front of the bathroom, like looking around. So I'm just like, it seemed like it was, of course, a consensual thing, but I don't see you as being the mastermind. I see maybe some liquor going on, good time, and we all walk into a bedroom together.
Yeah. So like the thing is, I was showering. I was just showering by myself at first.
You're like, at first.
I was not the mastermind behind that. I did not come up with a plan. That was not the intentional plan, but like, did it happen? Yeah. And I'm a consenting adult. So I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and try to like bullshit everybody. Yeah, it happened. But nobody actually knows what happened. So that's also nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I haven't heard the like you masterminded, but I feel like at times you were on this way of getting this villain narrative. And I think sometimes people watch reality shows, they begin to have a narrative about people that they can't like let go of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially once the show is over, it's like, well, yeah, she came out and said this, he said this, but in my mind, you've been the villain the whole time, so I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just that part, it doesn't like bother me. It's like, it's just not true. So yeah, that's why I would like clear the air on that. But I'm not going to sit through and like comment on every single comment. Like that's not what happened. And it's like the reality of it is like nobody will ever know what happened. Like even Netflix themselves doesn't know what actually happened. So yeah.
It's crazy how, you know, with Grant, there was a camera in there, but I read somewhere that the people forgot to put a camera in you guys, his bathroom. Not that I personally want to see all that, but I just thought when I was watching, how come we're seeing all this stuff in Grant's bathroom, but not all the stuff happening in his bathroom? So it was just quite interesting to see like someone dropped the ball there.
Yeah, that one's above my pay grade. I'm not quite sure about that one, but I'm
sure you're probably happy maybe that some of that was not seen.
Yeah, that's not. I you know, it is interesting because it's like you a lot of people were showering in that shower, and there's not one day. It's just not. It wasn't like the one day like. It was a normal thing that all the girls were pretty much like spreading out and showering in all the guys' showers. Just because we had one bathroom and it was 12 girls, right? So 12 girls are trying to get ready at the same time. And so we all took turns in different bathrooms and spread out and like did our makeup in different bathrooms and got ready. So I think like that's another thing that people don't know. Even if it looks seamless, like things could be from very different days.
It's crazy that there's so many people and there was only like, even up just on where you were staying at, there was only one bathroom?
For our girls where we
Yeah,
were.
for all those girls, there was just one bathroom?
Yeah.
Wow. How many rooms were there?
We had one room. Yeah. It was big though. It was big, but
Oh, okay. Still.
yeah.
How long was filming?
We were on the island for 4 weeks also. So that's another thing that people don't understand, I guess, with the timeline. We were there for a long time. We were filming for technically, including like the intro scenes and all that, probably like 3.5 weeks.
So you being in one large room with one bathroom does not seem kind of crazy to you for 4 weeks?
I'm really like a glass half full type of person, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people had a lot of issues, but I personally was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm gonna make, I'm a genuinely like positive person, so I'm just like, whatever, I'll make do, or like I'll ask the guys if I can use their bathroom or whatever, to make it work. It wasn't that big of a deal to me.
Yeah. I can tell you're a person who's used to kind of like, I'm gonna just make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see some deeper things there with that kind of like attitude and tone. So, but wow, 4 weeks. Okay. I thought it was just maybe like 2 weeks at a time.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. So that's why people are like, oh my gosh, like y'all folded after 2 days. And I'm like, 2 days? That was like 3 weeks in. Like, and getting close with people is really interesting because like, as you probably can imagine, like being in that bubble of just like, you don't have your phone, you don't have any distractions. You're just sitting there getting to know people for weeks, day in, day out, from like, I would say 8 a.m. to like 2 a.m. every day for
and
weeks.
did you guys have any opportunity to kind of like leave your area, or were you kind of sequestered in that like housing?
Yeah, so that's the thing about dates. Dates were the only time you got to leave the villa.
I kind of figured.
So it was, I think a lot of people were like, y'all are mad you didn't get taken on dates or whatever. Like I went on 2 dates. But when you didn't get picked for a date, you just had to like stay
around and swim.
There were no activities, which is kind of nice too, but it's like you kind of get out and like do something. So it's more so that vibe than like being salty about not getting chosen for a date because like we're not liked. I think like all the girls genuinely like were cool and everyone liked everyone. So it's like whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's a long time to just be doing nothing if you're not going on a date. So the next day, were you expecting to kind of be chosen for a date at all?
There were conversations that were happening, and a conversation happened actually between Brianna and I off camera. And I was just like, go ahead. So that clears the air, I guess, too, of like, I already knew. So yeah, at that point I was like playing into like the like, oh, like he's taking her on a date. But like I already knew before that.
Yeah, because I think from an audience perspective, it looked kind of like, not that you were disappointed, but just like kind of shocked, like, yesterday happened, but then no date afterwards. But it's not like there was an offsite conversation.
Yeah, no, there was a conversation that happened behind the scenes. I definitely wasn't salty about that. And like, I was like, okay. We had to make it entertaining. So it's like, of course, I'm going to be like, like he's taking her on a date. Like, like everyone's cool. I didn't have a problem with that, to be honest. And like, there was more that happened like as time went on too, where like Brianna actually ended up going on his own date, like by himself, which I'm sure you guys saw. I honestly like all of that stuff.
Yeah, which was also kind of weird, but yeah, we saw that.
At that point, like everybody said no, like for that date. Like he went around and asked everybody, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we're good."
Everybody was like, "I'm good."
Yeah.
Wow, that had to be like
at that point, like something happened. I wasn't there for it, so I don't really want to speak super in depth. But I guess there was like a misunderstanding, and I said something to somebody, and then there was a little bit of like a meh, and then from what I heard, it was like a little bit disrespectful of what he said. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like everyone's kind of like against him right now in this moment as girls. Like we sit together as girls and we're like, okay, yeah, just like work on yourself today.
That makes sense. 'Cause I remember, I feel like the girls were very like open about, what's up with him. He's doing all this stuff to his girlfriend, yet I don't know. It just kind of feel like I don't know if I've ever watched a show where this type of dynamic where the women were just so, yeah, what's up with him? I wouldn't want to date him. Like after, the evening before.
Yeah, I think in general, all of us, I mean, like, I think that's a huge misconception that a lot of people have too. They're like looking at this show as like a real dating show. Like none of us, and then again, I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody else. So like, if you went to Temptation Island, a show where like your job is to break up a couple that's technically broken, they're technically broken up.
Yeah.
Then like, why would you try to find love in a place where like you're essentially home wrecking? Like people call me a home wrecker. I'm like, I guess if you want to, but it's like, that's the premise of the show.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that anyone was looking for love and trying to date those people in real life. It was more like a social experiment type vibe.
Do you think that everyone there was good? Well, from the people who came there with the questions in their mind from their relationships, were they there all with good intentions?
Were they even actually together? I don't know. We don't know anything of these couples. When we go in as singles, right, we don't know if anything's actually real, if this couple's already actually broken up. Like people from previous seasons have come out and been like, yeah, we broke up months before the show even happened.
Oh, wow.
So it's like very odd to me that, I do understand though why people are so triggered by the show. And it's supposed to invoke feelings, but like, again, it's a show.
Yes, reality show. People attach so many feelings and emotions to people and develop these relationships. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like people are like jealous. Sometimes it feels like this is a way for me to distract myself from my own shit in my real life, so I can just hide behind this computer and say things about the people on the shows. It gets kind of out of control. It
does. I've seen some vile comments, like crazy. But it's like, okay, what are you going through? Maybe like I'm stepping into my
your therapist bag.
Honestly, I'm a great therapist. I was honestly giving a lot of advice, whether people believe this or not, whatever. I was giving a lot of advice to a lot of people on the island because they're asking me for advice, and I was one person that a lot of people felt like very comfortable with because I'm not a judgmental person. I know like I kind of say outlandish things sometimes, and I just like speak my mind, but I would say I'm one of the least judgmental people ever. So a lot of people felt like they could confide in me, and I actually do give pretty good advice, I would say.
Yeah, you seem like you're pretty direct. Like either your advice is going to be too much for somebody, or it's going to be right what they need.
Yeah. I have friends that have like told me before. They're like, I don't even want to hear the truth. I just want comfort right now. So like, I'm not going to talk to you about my problems. I would rather just like go talk to someone who's going to like coddle me. And I'm like, that's fair. And I have those moments too where I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't even want like advice. I just want someone to make me feel better. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Comfort me right now. But yeah, that's me. That's definitely me.
Now, did you connect with any of the other like guys on the show at all, or have any other like conversations or dates with anybody else? Do I remember you talking to Lino at all?
So yeah, Lino and I went on 2 dates, actually. They were like barely shown, which is crazy. But yeah, we went on the double date with Grant and Natalie the day that they were making out, which is like, that was like the highlight of it. So obviously that was like, woo! That was fun. And then we went on the rock climbing date, and that was also a lot of fun. I appreciated Lino and his company, and yeah, it was cool getting to know him. I mean, I think it was cool getting to know all the guys, but yeah, I did feel like we probably had the most in common, which is kind of crazy to say.
Really?
You don't really like see a lot of that, but our conversations in terms of like business and like our interests and like fitness and working out and things like that, we actually had like a lot in common. So we just kind of like vibed as friends, I thought, on my part at least.
Yeah, I got the friendship vibe from different women that I think he was talking to and like went on dates with. He to me probably got the least camera time out of all the men because I think there of course was like really no drama going on with him compared to like Grant and other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good to see kind of like someone just I think just develop relationships with people or just have conversations more than I think like the physical connection sometimes we see on these shows.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, right? Like kind of like I mentioned, that first day, a lot of conversations happened where people set the scene of what kind of was expected. So Lino did mention like the first day his intentions, which I think, everyone goes on for their own reason. But I think I still stand by what I said. Regardless, everybody went on for exposure and clout in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Everyone wants something
How
out
cool
of
is that to be able to say, like, oh, my engagement is on Netflix forever? That's freaking cool. I would do that too.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like there were other things that we didn't see that you want to like talk about, or did you interact at all with Grant?
So it's funny. Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the Vile Files reunion.
The 2 hour reunion.
2 hours and 34 minutes, actually, to be correct. I had to 2x speed that because I was pretty bored. Yeah, my name was brought up a couple times within it. I thought that was pretty interesting. So actually, yeah, I was around quite a bit and I formed like a good, I would say like friendship with Grant. It was never on like some weird energy. I don't know where that text came from. I don't know if it's real. I've never seen it. So whatever. I just thought that was weird that they brought that up. Anyways, yeah, I did connect with Grant on a friendship level because Natalie was my closest friend in the house. So I was always just like the little like third wheel.
Okay.
So I would use Grant's bathroom honestly to like use the bathroom when I was like, okay, I want to be away from everybody. I would hide in Grant's bathroom by myself. But other than that, yeah, no, there was no like romantic connection. And then same with Tyler. There was no, like, I barely talked to Tyler. That was the ongoing joke, like in our storyline together. It was like day 17, like still haven't had a full conversation with Tyler.
He seemed like he was really like, Kay was laying it on thick very early, like laying her territory.
I mean, they pretty much like booed up the first day. Like,
Yeah.
and so it was like, everybody already knew that. So it was like, okay, well, that's off limits already as it is. And then what we have to choose from, there's 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay. Like she letting everybody know that Tyler is hers. Okay. Leave him alone, ladies.
But it's kind of cool though, the way that it played out, because that's who, now watching it back, right? We didn't hear the commentary of the intro scene. So watching that back and hearing that he was like interested in her, like she stood out to him in the lineup, that's kind of cool. It's cool because us, like, we don't see any of that. We didn't hear the side commentary of anything. So, we kind of sometimes are just as surprised as everybody else watching the show. Because they're like, oh, you saw it ahead of time, right? No, I'm watching it at 12 a.m. on March 12th, just like everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. Did you do like a watch party or anything? Or were you just like, okay, I want to see this by myself?
No, yeah, I did a little mini gathering at my place. I just moved actually, so I was like, oh, it'd be fun to do a little thing. I had Nat here, my other friend Hannah from, she was on the Mole, and then just some of my like close friends, my manager. We watched it together, and trust me, like when we watched it back, Nat and I, like being there and experiencing it in person, we were like this. Like, wait, that's not how that happened, but that's clever that they did that. That's.
Watching it back, what were you most surprised that they sliced together or edit about you?
I'm just like a happy-go-lucky person. And like, that's what I was like. I was so just like bubbly and happy and positive and like upbeat. And I was bringing everyone else's energy up the whole time. So like to be painted out specifically like just as like a sexy vixen, I was like, wow, that's so interesting, because like most of the time I wasn't that. Like that was like probably 10% of my time there. I like a lot of the times I was like playing with geckos in the corner by myself on the floor. So it was like very interesting that was like the main, just like, oh, this is who Alex is.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for the story. Like, so I can't even be mad. I'm like, you know what? That was effective.
Yeah, it spiced up the episodes. I feel like this reboot, I don't know if it's a reboot or whatever it is, it was a slow roll. Like, I think for some people, they are just catching on and watching it. Maybe it was the height of, like, it came out maybe around the same time as Love Is Blind. I can't really remember, but I think people are just starting to like pick up on this. Do you feel the same way?
I feel like my hate has slowed down a bit.
That's good for you.
I don't know if like, well, all publicity is good publicity, but
Yeah.
I guess. Maybe, I think the hype of it though, of like on social media was like peaked probably like a week ago.
Oh, with all the Grant, Ashley, and Shantae stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's already kind of like dwindling down, which is like, okay, yeah, like on to the next. I think people don't actually realize how like short their attention span actually is. And I mean that in like the nicest way possible. It's just like, you're so upset over something, and then like 5 seconds later, a new show will come out and you'll forget all about it.
Yeah, because I think there's like this microwave, just like ding. But then as soon as the next like show pop culture thing happens, people forget like, oh yeah, we were mad at this girl. Well, over here, they're doing this now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now that the show is over, like when it comes to branding, are you trying to rebrand yourself? Or are you just leaning more into like being outspoken, leaning more into your sexuality and sex positive? Like, how are you doing it now?
So I actually don't feel like I'm personally changing anything about my branding per se. It's like, okay, what people don't understand is like, yeah, they saw me on a show, but I've already been doing social media for 2+ years. And like, I already have my persona. I already have my own fan base. I already have people that like me for me. So that show of how other people edited me and how they needed to use me in a storyline doesn't define me as a person. So would I say like I'm rebranding? No, I've always been very sex positive. That's one thing that actually a lot of people appreciated about me on the island, whether they would admit that or not. I'm just very real, and a lot of people were asking me for advice, and I love it. I love giving advice when it comes to like sexual things. Like I'm an open book like about that stuff. So a lot of people were asking me for advice. A lot of people were talking to me about things like they're like, oh, like have you ever like tried this or like what's your thoughts on this? And I'm just I love those conversations, and I think it's really interesting because I think a lot of people are just really scared to have them in fear of like being judged, like they're not pure and they're not good people. With like, all of us have sex, all of us like sex. If you do have sex, if you're abstinent or if you're celibate right now, or that's a different story. But I want to like open that conversation to people and be like, it's okay to be sex positive and it's okay to have these conversations. And I think it would actually be like so beneficial to have these conversations, because it's like you see half the internet's like, you're a filthy whore for having these conversations or saying like the things that I say. But it's like the other half's like, can you talk more about that? Because like, I feel like I've judged myself, and it's actually like, it feels good to hear someone else be okay with it.
I think that's true, because a lot of these shows, people may not pay attention, but they kind of try and play to middle America, which is more conservative, which is probably where you see a little bit more of the negative comments about sexuality and being sex positive. But it's so taboo, and people want to break out, but they're scared to. So I think sometimes seeing people like you just be forward, be open about who they are, what they want, it does help people see like, okay, I can step out a little bit. Like I want to be more of myself and not who maybe my parents think I should be, or my family, or my religion, the BS of that. So it's just still super taboo, even though we see it all the time on all these shows.
It's so, and that's the thing, like a show like Too Hot to Handle is entirely based on like not giving into temptation, and like, okay, you're all single, but it's the same concept. But people eat that up when they're like, I love it. But then it's like when it comes to this, for people that signed up to be there and know what it is and know what time it is, now it's a problem. I think it's more so like the triggered. I probably triggered a lot of people because they're insecure in maybe their own relationships, or I reminded them of like a girl they were like intimidated by in their past with like, oh, like this girl just thinks she can come in here and like steal this girl's man. I'm not that type of girl. Like in real life, I'm very, very loyal, like to a fault. So it's just really interesting. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm such a like, I will yap for days. You said 1 hour. I said, okay, I will try my best to just get through the actual.
No, why are you apologizing? This is not a space where you have to apologize for being yourself. But no, I agree. I think sometimes, like I said, people develop these weird relationships with people they've never met. They're never going to meet, and different things. Like it could also be like they wish they were you, where they could be more forward, more honest, and live more truthfully. You and other people they see on TV, but because of different reasons, I've been stuck in who I am. I don't want to be that person. So I'll project all of my stuff onto your social media, seeing you on TV, wherever you are. I'm just going to project my own BS onto you.
Yeah, because it's always, I almost made it like a social experiment now. Not that I like care about the hate comments, but I made it a social experiment for myself. I'm like, let me look at what's in their bio.
Oh, interesting.
So every time I look and I see like a new one that's like pretty like, whoa, I go and I'm like, okay, what's in their bio? And it's typically something that's always talking about like how happy they are and how good life is and how all. I'm like, you're projecting, babe. You're projecting. Because I wake up happy. People are like, how could you live with yourself? I'm like, what? I sleep great at night. I sleep great. I wake up happy. I wake up grateful every day for like every single day. So it's an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I think for me, I look at, I go on YouTube, I go to their profiles and see like, what type of person is this? Let me see what kind of videos they have. Let me see if I can kind of see what kind of identity they have, because half the time it's people behind these fake photos or blank screens, so you don't know anything about them. But people don't realize you could tell a lot by someone's like playlist, what videos they've watched. I can kind of.
Well, you deep dive. You go in on them. Wait, I like you.
I'm like, oh, you got some shit to say. Let me see. Oh yeah, you look like you're boring. Okay.
It's like you got way too much time. Like if you're, and I think the funniest, to be honest, are the ones that it's like, they don't follow me, but they have my alerts on. Because every single post, they're like the first ones to put a hate comment. Like as soon as I post, I'm like, you have my notifications turned on. Like there's no way.
Well, yeah, that is so strange. I never thought about that.
It's like the biggest compliment, honestly. My biggest haters are also my biggest fans. So
it's good that you don't let all of the, negative stuff change you as a person. I've seen people kind of like spiral and really be in the comments responding. But it's like, for what? I'm happy. For what?
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like the comments like reflect that the people commenting actually didn't understand the premise of the show.
Yeah.
And it's like they're speaking on things that they have no idea. So it's like, how can I really be mad at them? It's like they're forming their own weird opinion based on what they saw. And it's like, you weren't there. So you don't know what actually happened. So I'm like, how can I be mad at you?
Yeah, so true. So tell me a little bit about what you're up to now. Like, would you ever do more reality TV?
Would I do more? I would love to do more reality TV. I feel like, I thrive. I really enjoy it. And I think it's fun, and people like me, I feel like are like built for it. I do want to get more into like acting. I want to just be like a full creative, like get into music, get into acting, get into the arts, get into fashion, get into all that. Because that's what really interests me and what I'm passionate about. But this is a good like little stepping stone, and also just shaking the right hands, right, meeting the right people, and seeing the behind the scenes. I think production is cool. I think production's cool. I think the editing process is cool. I think the behind the scenes is so cool. So maybe one day you'll see me. I'm producing a show. I think that would be really cool. So right now, yeah, I'm just riding this wave right now, but I have a lot of stuff like in the plans for the next few years that I'm really excited about.
Oh, good, good. Well, is there anything else you want to leave my community with about you as a person, or where can they find you? What's your socials?
My social, okay, so with my name change, let me think about my socials. My Instagram is I am Alex Zamora. My TikTok is Alex Zamora _official. My YouTube is also Alex Zamora _official. You can just follow me on IG. I have a link tree that I'll put all my socials in. But this has been so fun, and you're like so cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just want to like have human conversations. I'm not here to like, make you look like a bad person or get the tea or ruin your, who you are as a person.
Yeah. No, I appreciated this a lot. It felt very humanizing compared to the past couple weeks. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing you you will be on more TV, girl. I'm going to be there watching you. We're going to manifest. We're going to
we'll recap after the next one then. Yes. We'll come back after and see if anything's changed.
Yes. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too. Nice to meet you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it, folks. On my channel, we're going to humanize these reality stars, these shows, the things that we see. I want the behind the scenes. I want to know who you really are. I want to dig a little bit. I have my therapist cap on, but I also have my messy cap on too. But we're going to do some things in the middle. So let me know what you think about this interview. I got another one coming up too. All right. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit that like, that notification bell, subscribe, become a member, and I will see you in the next video.